All right, Craig. So our first point of news today, there was a Zelda that sold for $870,000, and at the time it was record breaking. So what were your thoughts on that?
So, I thought it was a lot, and obviously it is a lot. I kinda was surprised though it was sold for that much with the grade it was at. Like, if I'm thinking a game getting towards $1 million mark and like a 9.8, like a close to perfect grade, you know? But it
Right.
is one of the earliest known prints. I think it was 30, a little off on that. So it's one of the earliest and hardest to find sealed prints out there, at least. So in terms of when it was produced, it makes sense. But for it to have that high of a dollar amount and not be like a quote unquote perfect copy, I was pretty surprised about that. But last time we talked, I did say that the first $1 million game could possibly be a Zelda game. So,
Yes. Actually, someone messaged me after your prediction in the first episode, and after this game sold, and they were like, "Dude, your co-host called it," and I was like, "Yeah, he did. It's pretty close up there." Um, so this was a three screw card. Like you said, it was not the very first printing, and it was a 9.0, not a 9.8 A plus plus, but a 9.0. So yeah, good point there. Then later on, we had so the next point of news we had the CGC, the comic book grading company, been around for a long time. They announced that they were going to be joining the market, the graded video games market. They said it'll be somewhere in the next 6 to 12 months. And what do you think about that, Craig?
I'm excited. I know a lot of people out there don't like CGC, but and I mean it's hard for me to kind of give a super fair opinion on who they are as a company or as a service because I have never submitted anything to them.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my girlfriend both own a decent amount of CGC slab comics, but we bought those after they were already graded. But
Right.
we got them from CGC opposed to like CBCS or something like that because like how we were talking about VGA and Wata the other day, their cases are just nicer, and they also seem to be very strict, especially when it comes to like cards. Um, and like if you get a card sent to PSA, like a Pokemon card, or a card sent to CGC, it's almost always going to go lower at CGC because they just seem to grade stricter. And I think grading stricter is the way to go because you want. I mean, I understand some people just want the 10; they don't care if it really deserves it or not. But I'd rather not have the 10 and have a more accurate grade. Like if I had a
Yeah, I
9,
mean,
I'd rather it actually be a 9. You know, and
yeah.
if CGC is taking all this seriously and taking their time coming to market, hopefully with things that like the biggest competitor Wata can provide, like grading Vita games, which is something that I've been wanting myself a long time, or even like some PS4 games or PS3 things like that. I think that
Mm-hmm.
it'll be some fair competition, and obviously competition is always good in the market because we want these people to compete with each other for better pricing, better service, everything. So I'm personally excited for CGC. Um, like I said, I've never dealt with them. Hopefully, they're honestly better at service than Wata because, from my own personal experience, I have not been very impressed with Wata from the one game I have submitted so far. But only time can tell with something like this, especially since we got up to a year until they really get into this. But I think that if any other company was going to get into it, I think CGC was probably the competitor that Wata could use to kind of help them up their game or motivate them to up their game.
So we now have VGA, CGC, and WADA. And what do you think is going to come of VGA now?
I mean, hopefully they'll change and their website won't look like it's from the '90s anymore. That'd be nice. It's atrocious, but I it's
Yeah.
weird because I feel like VGA is in such an odd place because obviously people care and people value them, but when it comes to the larger market and the people that are spending hundreds of thousands, close to millions of dollars, nobody's putting that money towards a VGA game. They're all putting it towards a WADA game. So again, competition motivation. Hopefully, this motivates a company like VGA to kind of maybe change the look of their product, update the way that you go about obtaining their product, and I don't know. I mean, it could only mean good things for there to be more market share in this. I mean, obviously, there's always going to be one king of the hill, and as of right now, it's Wata, but it'll be interesting how that changes throughout the next couple of years.
Yeah, you're spot on saying that the website is ancient. I mean, I think we talked about it last time, but it's bad. You still have to submit that hard copy form, which is interesting. They need to do a lot of updates to that website and to that process for sure. I don't think CGC is gonna start out anywhere near that low, so they've probably already got to jump on VGA. Watt is definitely the king of the hill. You're right. I think VGA has good chance of, I don't know, phasing out. I think that they have a lot of stuff over there. VGA. They have collectible cards. They have probably, I don't know, toys. Is toys a graded market?
They do have action figures and dolls sections as well.
So they have multiple things under their umbrella. I don't know how much longer they're going to be in video games over there. But let's move on to the next one. I kind of skipped over the record breaking Zelda because of this next one that also happened. After Zelda sold, I was like, Craig, we got to do a video, man. And then our schedules didn't align, and I think it worked out well because just a few days after that, we had Super Mario 64 sell for $1.56 million. Was a 9.8. You've probably already heard about this if you're watching this video. People at my job heard about this and were talking to me about it, and like casual people that don't collect. It was all over every news headline. It was crazy. But 9.8 Wata grade. Craig called it on the last episode. Our first $1 million game will sell by the end of the year. Right now, we're seeing a whole bunch of stuff about money laundering. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I don't think so.
I think a lot of people are just negative about it, and they just don't want it to succeed. I think people already hate graded games as it is. Those are
Well,
the people talking about money laundering. Go ahead.
as somebody that wasn't there when collectible comics started becoming a big boom, and when the first $1 million comic book sold, I'm sure there's people that were saying the same thing when the first Action comic sold for over $1 million too. I mean,
That's a good point.
people. I don't want to say it's an envy thing, but I think it's a kind of just an incomprehensible thing because, like, you think of $1 million, and really, you can't. Like, 1 million is such a large number, you can barely comprehend what that actually looks like or means. So, it's like when you hear about a game selling for that, and it's like, wow, the average person won't ever be able to afford that in their lifetime or even make that much money in their lifetime. It's just hard to understand how or why somebody with that kind of income would spend it on that kind of thing. But I always say there's nothing more powerful than a rich nerd. um, the significance of the game is obviously there. I wouldn't, when I said that it'd be $1 million game, I was thinking a Zelda one or a Mario one. I wasn't thinking Mario 64.
Or any game from the Nintendo 64 for that
Yeah,
matter.
because it's just too new, you know. But I mean, it has this historical significance. I'll give it that. Do I think it should have sold for that much? Definitely not. But obviously, I'm not the market, and the market's going to speak for itself with something like this. And it's not like it was one person bidding. There's at least two people that wanted to spend that much money on it. So I wish there was a way to tell how many unique bidders there were on that, because that'd be very interesting to see as well, especially once it got super high up there on the scale of where it was selling. But I don't know. I keep hearing people argue about the saying that it's not worth it, or if it's not significant or anything like that, or it's not really that rare. And I think the not really that rare thing is the thing that kind of rubs me the wrong way, because I would like to have somebody show me their closet full of steel first print Mario 64s in perfect condition. Because
In 9.8 condition,
exactly,
yeah.
it doesn't exist. That's the difference. It's like, to bring it back to comics, it's like, obviously a later print Mario 64 is going to sell as much, but that's like saying a reprinted Action Comics #1 from like the 70s or 80s being mad that that's not worth as much as the original from the 30s or whatever, you know? It's the same thing. If you think
Yeah.
about it, I mean, obviously the time difference is different as well, and you can argue that Mario 64 doesn't have the impact as Super Mario Bros. 1 or something, but um, I mean, when it comes to collectible market, the people with the biggest, deepest pockets are going to be the one to set it at the end of the day. So if somebody that's a millionaire, billionaire, or something really loved Mario 64 when they were growing up and they want to have the perfect copy, and in a Wata case, because I'm pretty sure, don't hold me to this, I'm pretty sure that's the only Wata 9.8 A++ first print Mario 64. And if they want to be the one person to own it and they have the money for it, they're going to say F it and do it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not like we have a population report to fact check this, but
God, I hate that so much. God, it's the worst.
but hey, we might have some changes coming because this next point here, Collector's Universe acquired Wata. That was news just after Mario 64 sold. So big episode here for Collective Perspective. Collector's Universe is the parent company of PSA. Now, my first question to you is going to be, will we start to see population reports now, Craig?
I hope so, but I don't think it's a guarantee still. um, I don't.
I agree.
I mean, the dude from Wata did his interview saying that they were still gonna not be changing too much, but I I mean obviously there's gonna be changes. I'm sure they're gonna have more staff and up their turnaround times. Who knows about pricing and all that stuff? But you'd imagine at least they would hire more people. But I still don't think. I mean, I hate to say it, but I think that they're not releasing population reports for a reason. I mean, I think that they're doing it because the speculation in the market causes more sales and bigger sales because people don't really know what's out there. And that's
They
just the
will.
conspiracy theorist in me, but I mean, businesses at the end of the day are slimy, so that's just how it
I think it's
goes.
only a matter of time, personally. I think that they will come, but I don't think that PSA taking over Wata is going to have anything to do with it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think it's good that they came out and said, like, hey, nothing's going to change at Wata. And Collectors Universe also said that they will not be, like, yeah, they're under their umbrella now, but they're not going to come in and start changing things around. So Dennis Kahn's still the head of the company. And yeah, I don't think a whole lot is going to change. Will turnaround times improve?
I hope so, because it's ridiculous. They need to change something, but I mean, at the same time, when PSA got slammed, their solution was to shut down for a few months. So who really
From what
knows?
I understand, PSA just is constantly swamped,
Yeah, but if you're
and they're just
constantly
always
swamped,
behind.
you can hire more people. Because if you're making that much money, you can afford it.
Yeah,
Like, there's really not an excuse at the end of the day. And to say that there's not enough, like, experts in the hobby is also wrong because there's hundreds of people out there that know this stuff just as well as these people. I guarantee there's your average Joe Schmo Pokemon card collector that knows the cards probably better than some of the people that work there. I mean, you just had to actually search for the talent like anything else, but I don't know. It's a little frustrating because I feel like at the end of the day, I mean, of course, the uptick in the last year was a lot, but I still don't think it's an excuse to not having a solution by now. Because when people use the pandemic as an excuse now, I consider that lazy because it's been over a year. You've had time to figure it.
oh
You've
yeah.
had time to figure it out.
I think we're gonna have a whole episode on pandemic prices that we keep talking about,
For
and
real.
just how it's affected the market. But on turnaround times, I think that it is possible that they could get better. I think that they are like I think that they could be hiring new people, and they will have a larger warehouse or workplace or whatever now that they have been acquired. I think that they definitely have more resources now, but at the same time, the games being submitted are only going to increase drastically with these record-breaking sales in the last 2 weeks. And once again, these are all coming from heritage auctions. So these couple of record-breaking deals here have been on heritage auctions, and I think that might be why it might be a big reason why Wata is the king of the hill. VGA has nothing to do with heritage auctions. Is that correct?
No, they don't.
Because Wata and heritage work together in some fashion. And yeah, so that's something that they definitely have going for them. I think CGC is going to need something like that if they want to really break through
I mean, they already
into
do
this
though, because
market.
CGC is partnered with Heritage for all their big sales as well, so they already have their foot in the door
Oh wow.
there. So I wonder, like, if when that starts to happen, I wonder if they're gonna have separate blocks, like when they do their
Mm.
big sales. Like if it's gonna be like all CGC games and then all Wata games separately. It's gonna be interesting to see how they go about that, because I could be wrong. But I don't think like CBCS or anything has any of their stuff on auction through Heritage like CGC does. I'm pretty sure, but
Right. Are we going to start seeing new games being accepted now? We have Turbo, DS, PS3. You mentioned Vita earlier.
I hope so. I mean, VGA does everything, and that's the pro of VGA, you know. So
Yeah.
if CGC hops in the market and they're able to have that advantage over Wata right away, I don't think it would be a huge market share, but it's still a market share that Wata would be missing out on because there are, I mean, PS3 probably especially in terms of like the more modern stuff is a huge. People love to collect PS3. It's one of the most collectible systems, I'd argue now, because it has so many games and a lot of them are still super cheap and people are still learning what's rare and what's not. So stuff like that I think would really I think blow up pretty quickly.
Turbo graphics stuff is so rare and like uncommon and expensive as it is that I would hate to see them have to like I would hate to see companies start grading those as well. I know that it's only a matter of time, and I know that last episode we talked about CIB and others are not being affected in terms of the market. So really, in that sense, it would just be sealed turbo games that we would have to worry about, things that I don't personally collect, so it's not a big deal. But that brings me to my next point for this video. I was going to talk about how long is it going to be until CIB is affected. So before you answer that, my example is going to be Zelda is a few $100 CIB, but a 9.0 graded is almost $1 million. So that's a huge, huge gap, and I'm starting to think that it's only a matter of time until that gap is closed. But what do you think?
I don't know because I wonder because I feel like if people do collect CIB graded, it's usually only on the super high end. Like most people aren't gonna want to buy like a Game Boy Advance game like at an 8. I feel like if it's CIB, but even if it's sealed at that point, people are gonna want it. Um, and it's also just harder to get a good grade when it's CIB because it's like if the manual's inserted funky or something, then there goes a good point or two off of your grade, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
I could see it picking up steam a little bit, but I don't ever think it'll pick up or fill that ginormous gap personally. And I think if it did, then I think the hobby would really start to honestly, I think it would start to die because uh, being priced out of sealed games is one thing, but being priced out of games that are opened and playable, I think, is a whole other factor. And I mean, like I've said before, sealed collectors and just regular old game collectors are a whole different world, at least in my eyes. So I think if that gap ever started to close, then I think that the games market would actually probably be affected negatively, and I think people would just stop buying at that point.
It would certainly what's the word, price out, it would price out a ton of people. There are so many casual collectors out there that would no longer be interested.
I wouldn't.
um,
I mean,
yeah.
I only buy complete in boxes, you know. So if everything became $1,000 games, then I would sell all of my stuff and emulate everything. It wouldn't be worth it at that point, you know, because I'm
I
not rich.
Right, I could see this affecting I could see this gap being closed on the really important titles, and especially NES titles. Now, a CIB copy of some random Joe Schmo game on NES or Super Nintendo, it's not. I don't see that being a big deal. But I do think that the Mario CIBs and the Zelda CIBs and Metroid, everything is just gonna start to go a lot closer to the like it can't stay this way forever. I don't think it's. I could go on eBay right now and get myself a $300 or $400 copy of Zelda Complete in Box, but $870,000 for a three screw cart, 9.0. That's $870,000. It can't possibly. It's just my opinion. I don't think that that gap can stay as wide as it is forever.
I don't know. I guess we'll see. It'll
Um,
be interesting to watch, especially since
yeah.
we have semi different views. So we'll see how that goes in the years to come because the market is evolving very rapidly. The record has been broken so many times in a short amount of time, and I don't know the exact timeline, but I know it took a lot longer for the first $1 million comic to sell opposed to the first $1 million game. So
If people started to get priced out of older games, I could see them just instead of just like not collecting anymore, they would just start to collect the more modern stuff. And you see it all the time. As people who go into their 20s start collecting, they go for the more nostalgic pieces. And people like us, we're nostalgic for the N64, the GameCube era. That's just like that's our age group. And you and I, we still collect NES and Super Nintendo, but I think we are a big exception because I think a lot of people our age don't care about the Genesis. They don't care about the early '90s stuff just because they didn't grow up in it. Um, and what I'm trying to say is, if that gap starts to close, it would certainly start with the older games, and it would price people out of NES and Super Nintendo maybe, but it wouldn't price them out of video game collecting completely.
yeah, I see what you're saying.
But yeah, let's go ahead and wrap this video up. Thank you guys for watching, and let us know in the comments what you think of all these record-breaking sales. And if you have some crazy conspiracy, let us know.